Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Howard County Delegation meeting. We are very fortunate this morning to have Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth with us, and she has a hard stop. So I would like to get started because I know we want to hear from her, and I'm sure everyone will have lots of questions. And thank you so much for being here, Congresswoman, and thank you for the work that you do in Washington, which does not sound all that easy from this vantage point. So,
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for accommodating my crazy schedule with this. It's always good to see you all. Of course, I've seen you all, spoken with you all since individually since last year I addressed the delegation, but I'm really happy to address the delegation kind of more formally again. I'm going to try to be brief, Madam Chair. I'm going to start with the bad about all the things that you're reading in the news. I want to talk a little bit about some of the good that is not often highlighted, and then I would love to talk about any questions that you all have. Before I do get started, I want to introduce two people though who I know you know, but Eva Lewis is my district director, familiar face to all of you, working out of our Columbia district office. I joke, I think I'm the only member who has a district office in Columbia as opposed to a District of Columbia office. And then maybe South Carolina, who knows? And then Jamie Diatley is my chief. Both Jamie and Eva have a long history in the delegation in Maryland politics. So I'm so grateful to have them both. And of course, if you ever cannot get a hold of me, you can please feel free to reach out to directly to Eva or Jamie for anything that you may need. I'll start with the bad. Obviously, it's been a tremendously difficult year for many Americans and particularly Marylanders, as we have 45,000 federal employees in our district alone and 2 to 3 times that in contractors. Obviously, we saw DOJ just take a sledgehammer to civil service, and we're just seeing last week kind of, I wouldn't say the president admitting that was a mistake. I don't think he's very good at that, but rehiring people for positions that were cut. The bad news of that is rehiring them in more political functions. And we all know that was a tenet of Project 2025 to recreate a spoils system that we got rid of in this country in 1883. So that's the negative is the hyper political nature of, I think, the president's vision for the civil service. Obviously, moving on to the bad of the ICE weaponization across the country. You all know, experiencing it in Howard County. Thank you to folks on this call, including Brian Schepter and County Executive Ball, for immediately reacting, the County Council, with the proposed detention facility in Elkridge. Thank you for just springing into action. And the State House bill, I think is moving as well in a similar vein. You probably also, if you've been to an airport recently, recognize that one of the very few tools House Democrats have in pushing back against this administration is withholding our votes on DHS's budget. So DHS technically is shut down right now, which means they are not being paid. The bad news of that is the ICE budget was plussed up significantly in the president's big beautiful bill, so they're flush with cash. The people I'm most concerned about are TSA, FEMA employees, other DHS employees who are remaining on the job in really critical, life-saving public safety roles and unfortunately are not collecting a paycheck. But in the meantime, House Democrats have proposed 10 very reasonable, common sense guardrails against the weaponization of ICE. Things like requiring body cameras, something Maryland did. I was proud to vote on with all of you years ago. Protecting sensitive places of churches, hospitals, courtrooms from ICE being able to detain people. 10 very simple provisions. I'm happy to share the full list with you all. Negotiating with the Republicans to see those 10 provisions, not just a handshake agreement of regulation within DHS, but actually become law through the budget process. That is what we are seeking right now. And then I'll end with the bad, Madam Chair, of course, with what I consider to be a war in Iran. The president has sometimes used the word war, sometimes used the word conflict. The House voted last week on a war powers resolution. It came up just a few votes short. I voted for it that would require congressional authorization of this use of force. Um, Obviously, we're all keeping in our hearts and prayers the 7 U.S. service members who have been killed already, the dozens who've been injured, the hundreds of civilians who have been caught up in this conflict. I can share with you, I've been in many classified briefings in the last couple of weeks on this issue. I am not convinced that the president has any clear objectives, any exit strategy, any plan to ensure the self-determination of or the Iranian public writ large. And I will continue to use every tool I have to push back against this, what I consider illegal and extra-constitutional war. There's many other bad things happening in the world right now. I just wanted to give you a few. Pivoting briefly to the good, if I may, you all know that we are here for you and in partnership and for our constituents on their hardest days. Eva and her team have resolved, by the end of last year, it was about just over 1,000 constituent cases. So we're about at 1,300 right now, constituent cases, everything from Veterans Affairs appointments to IRS refunds to Social Security challenges and everything in between. Immigration, we've had a lot of success. Well, we might not have had success on every neighbor we have all heard about being detained by ICE. We do swing into action when that occurs. So please reach out to us. Please reach out to Eva with any constituent concerns whatsoever. Other good news, I think I was talking to one of you at Iftar on Sunday night. We are doing very well as a district with our Service Academy nominations. We're at 22 right now, young people in the district who have been accepted to West Point, Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, which I look to as a very positive thing that we have young people who want to serve our nation. And we are doing better than most congressional districts right now in terms of getting those young people accepted, nominating, and then they get themselves accepted into these academies. So I always look to that as some good news. Other good news, we were able to unlock some FEMA money for a project in the city of Annapolis, working on unlocking FEMA money for other programs, other projects across the state. And then, of course, earmarks that you all know about. We haven't yet done the big check presentation yet, but for projects and priorities in Howard County, everything from the energy resilience and public safety during storms at Elkridge at the 50 Plus Center, $1.25 million for that. Guilford Road, I was just in the Guilford Road neighborhood on Saturday knocking on doors. $2 million for pedestrian and bicycle improvement project. $2 million for the Artist Flat Apartments, the affordable housing project County Executive Ball has been championing. $500,000 for the MD-99 pedestrian connectivity improvement project. A little over $1 million for Shepherd Pratt. They have a facility, of course, in Elkridge, but also in Anne Arundel County to help them better train their staff from workplace violence, which is all occurring all over our healthcare system right now. So we were very happy to help that. And then lastly, just over $1 million for a STEM program with CAPA. We are literally submitting next year's earmarks this Friday, and I've been working hand in glove with the county executive and with Brian and with Chair Gazzoni to make sure we are. My strategy for earmarks has always been, obviously, the projects have to bubble up from the local government, but I also always keep in mind what you are working on and delivering in the state budget. So if we can match wherever possible, county, state, and federal money, we can maximize those projects as best as possible. I'll pause there, Madam Chair. I'd love to hear questions. I think you all have my cell phone number. Please never hesitate to reach out with anything at all, thoughts, ideas, questions, constituent concerns. Thank you.
Let's see, I have a question. Since you were only a few votes short in the House on the war powers, do you see any chance of that actually coming back and passing? I mean, are those few votes persuadable?
I have not personally spoken to at least the 4 Democrats who voted for it, so I don't quite personally understand their rationale. I hate to say it, but in any situation like this, I think if something materially changes, this goes on, which the president has said it will go on for 4 to 5 weeks. If, God forbid, we have a boots on the ground, which again, he has threatened to put boots on the ground in Iran. I think if anything material changes, that might persuade some of the Democrats who voted for it and a few of the Republicans who voted for it. I think they were hesitant at first because the Republicans, at least I believe, tried to give the president the benefit of the doubt and time. But the longer this drags on, the more undefined this war becomes. I think people are persuadable. Yes.
Thank you. Delegate Moreno. I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
Going back to the bad. So Pete Hegseth spent a lot of money
Hmm.
last year. Is anything you know of, are they gonna investigate the guy? I mean, he spent basically the budget or more than the budget of Maryland for an entire year, almost
Yeah.
a month. So I don't know if you have looked into it or what's
Yeah.
happening there.
I'm gonna slightly revise your question, Delegate. Is anybody looking into the guy? We will be, of course, in hearings. The secretary sits in front of my committee, the House Armed Services Committee, once a year, so we get kind of one swing at him in terms of public accountability. So yes, we will be that, and many other decisions will be questioned in the light of day on camera. We don't have that hearing scheduled yet. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an oversight investigation as well. But of course, you know better than any, very little actually substantively can be done from the minority position. And I think that's why it's so important that I have to be careful with my words. I'm not in the minority forever because I do think accountability is incredibly important, as the secretary has spent like $15,000 on fruit basket hangings and a Steinway piano. And I mean, just absolutely laughable. And it would be funny if we were not at war. Just crazy amount. And listen, I visited every major military installation in Maryland last year, and the amount of investment that they require, housing for our service members, childcare for their families, like simple unsexy road improvements that are needed across our installations that are doing incredible work. That money is much better spent, of course, actually investing in the things that our service members and their families need. So we'll let you know when that hearing occurs so you can tune in.
All right, thank you.
Great. Anybody else? I don't see any further questions.
I think Delegate
Delegate
Gazzoni.
Gazzoni.
Sorry, I'm always slow on the putting your hand up thing. I'm just curious about what you think, maybe some of the, I don't know, changes with regard to ICE in particular, now that Secretary Noem has, left that
Been
post.
fired. Yes.
And also that Tom Holman seems to have a different role. And some of the language around, mass deportation seems to be being tamped down.
Yeah, I don't want to dismiss what has happened in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and I've spoken to many of you about this. Was I hope a wake-up call to the American people about not just the weaponization of ICE against our immigrant neighbors, but across communities. Just absolutely terrifying. The good news, as you said, Secretary Noem is out in that position. I don't know Senator Mullen very well. I know him by reputation. He has to go through a Senate confirmation hearing, so I imagine he's going to have to go on the record about a number of tactics and positions of ICE. He has made public statements about ICE that are pretty concerning to me. And again, I think that's why Democrats are holding out for this 10-point, very reasonable, rational list to go into the DHS budget, which is the power of law, because we don't trust handshake agreements from this administration anymore. It has to be in law. But I do think that confirmation hearing process will bring to light some things, and then hopefully, further. And I know this president is the king of distraction. Between, every time his polling is bad or Epstein files are in the news, we seem to have another major conflict, be it Venezuela or Iran, or some way to knock the thing that we were all upset about out of the news cycle. But we have to stay focused on weaponization of ICE.
Thank you. Delegate Wu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Congresswoman. Really appreciated you coming to the delegation to speak about the issues. I think my biggest concern right now is the war in Iran.
Mhm.
So first, the Congress didn't authorize the president to have the war. Second is, for example, there are like 165 girls
Yeah.
were killed just in one school.
Mhm.
And this had been going on without any really constraint from
Mhm.
anybody. And the president can conduct another war again in other countries.
Mhm.
So is there any way like the court can weigh in? Because the Congress didn't authorize the president
Yeah.
to have a war, and then he conducted a war without an authorization. Is that illegal? Or is kind of the crime, war crime to bomb school and kill 165 girls?
It's absolutely devastating. And I think while the school bombing is being investigated by DOD, I had a long briefing about that last week. I think another component that we haven't talked about enough yet is the role of AI. And if that was, I don't know if that was responsible for that bombing, but I think it's a question policy question we have to ask of everybody. To your question about reining this president in, we're going to use every tool legislatively we have in the minority. Those war powers resolutions are important tools. They're privileged resolutions, so it's one of the things we can force. I think they're privileged. I'm looking at Jamie. Yes, they are. So one of the few tools we can force to the floor is a privileged resolution without bypassing committee, so we don't have to go through the committee process in the minority. The other is the discharge petition. You've probably heard about, we discharged the Epstein file release, ACA tax credits, collective bargaining. We've actually discharged more things to the floor than any other minority party in the history of this country. So we are using the tools. Delegate Wu, I'm not an attorney. I'm happy to ask Congressman Raskin your question about the court's role here. It's not my understanding of history that they've ever gotten involved in a conflict or a war like we're seeing in Iran, but I'm happy to ask Congressman Raskin his perspective on, are the courts an appropriate tool here? I don't know, but the Congress in the meantime, I believe we're probably going to see another war powers resolution when we come back next week. We're going to keep seeing like the drumbeat of those resolutions. And to Delegate Ziegler's question, I think over time, as this becomes more undefined, more U.S. service members are killed, more civilians are killed, oil prices continue to spike because we're disrupting that economy completely. I think we're going to see more pressure on my Republican colleagues to vote the right way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also can't imagine that things won't change because the number of countries that this war is affecting is absolutely incredible. I
Yeah.
read recently that Bangladesh has had to go to a 4-day work week because they don't have the electricity they need to
Yeah.
allow people to work 5 days a week. I mean, just what, desalination plants are getting bombed. Yeah, the spread is absolutely incredible. So
Yeah. Well, and I think we haven't talked about affordability this morning. I know you all are laser focused on affordability at the State House right now. The cascading effects, it's not just fuel and oil prices. It's going to be our farmers, Delegate Ziegler, this, are going to be
fertilizer.
disproportionately impacted by the price of fertilizer, which is directly related. Trucking and shipping. So all the cost of all of our goods are going to go up. I mean, it's just going to have cascading effects. And frankly, I think insult to injury, the president being so dismissive of that at a time when we are already seeing peak unaffordability in this country is very disheartening and disappointing.
And there's nothing more inflationary than war.
Yeah, very
That's
true.
a good one. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? We have to ask an optimistic question.
Please, we
This
have to
is
end on a
awfully
good note.
scary, right? We're going to send the Congresswoman off on her day with like, So, no, but it is wonderful how much money you've brought back to our district, and those all sound like incredible projects. And thank goodness for discharge petitions. And Delegate Hill.
Congresswoman, and thank you again for all the work. Doing a great job. Is there anything that you all can do to claw back any of the of the contracts that Elon Musk
Mm.
continues to get?
Yeah.
Continues to get.
Yeah.
Um, in the minority, I want to end on an optimistic note, Delegate, but while the love affair with Doge has dissipated, thank goodness, and we barely use that word anymore, but I do not let my Republican colleagues forget it. I was with the number 3 in the Pentagon on last week, and I directly asked him about Doge's cuts to the civilian workforce at DoD and the generation of scientists that we have lost in this country. No, there's still like a bromance and a fascination, if I may, with Elon Musk. For instance, anytime we mention internet service in Iran, the immediate response from my Republican colleagues is Starlink, right? Like there is a fascination with him.
And I guess that's really my concern. I
Yeah.
mean, it's clear when we see the way he has extorted other countries like in Africa
Yeah.
to take his projects or his products like Starlink when they don't want to, leveraging his relationship with Trump, that his plan is slightly different from the MAGA plan and the
Mhm.
2026, now 2026.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally self-serving.
It is a
Yes.
world
Yeah.
dominance over that, and we see how he has used that to put pressure on Ukraine, turning off, service and all that. And it just seems like the only group who might be able to, and sometimes we hear that the Republicans, quietly are not as enthusiastic about a future ruled by Trump and 5 other people,
Right.
or even Elon by himself. And I just didn't know if there's any effort to call him up and challenge those contracts as
Yeah.
as being and I don't know, they're illegally given or anything like that. So
Yeah, again, I think it's a lot about getting to the majority in January, having those gavels, having the subpoena power. But I think your question, Delegate, is so spot on. We have to confront the corruption across the board, or we're missing, I think, a very real concern of the American people. Corruption of, the fact that my colleagues can trade stock, the fact that the president can trade stock, that his family members can be on the betting market about when we're going to strike Iran and win, millions of dollars in that market. I mean, there's tremendous direct corruption and perception of corruption that is further eroding American trust in government. The president did mention the Stock Act in the State of the Union as, I think, a bit of a I have to be polite on this, as a challenge to the Congress. And our response is, many of us, I don't trade stock, but we can't pass that bill if it doesn't also include the president of the United States from trading stock in this situation. I mean, we should all be held to the same rightful high anti-corruption standard.
of course, he doesn't need to trade stock because he can just say, "Pay me."
Yeah,
He doesn't
right.
need stock, so it's okay.
Delegate Kazoni.
Thank you. So trying to go with Delegate Ziegler's suggestion that we have something positive, and I don't know if you know too much about this, but my understanding is that Goddard Space Flight Center may not be actually closing completely, which I worked there for a long time, which there was a level of concern about, but actually has some new work. So I just wanted to know if you knew anything about that and how it's going there.
I don't have the exact details since Goddard is in Congressman Ivey's district. We have obviously APL, which is doing very well, has been thankfully until recently really untouched by the crazy of Doge and rifts and other things. I don't have the exact details on Goddard. It is not closing. As you know, Delegate, a lot of this, and Jamie's been working on Goddard for a long time. He used to work for Congressman Brown, so long history working on Goddard issues. Part of it was timing of flight of missions rather, that kind of led us to this, I don't want to say weaker moment in time for Goddard, but like more vulnerable moment in time for Goddard. And then of course the president not understanding the value of earth science. Crazy.
I was about to say they do a lot of Earth-related stuff.
Yes.
That certainly, can get caught in the crosshairs of whether or not there's actually climate change going on.
Yeah, doesn't value it the way that it needs to be valued. But I'm happy to work with Jamie, and we can get you an update on what's going on with Goddard.
Yep. Again, just a
Yeah.
little bit of a happy thing that it's not fading any more than they thought it was going to. So
Thank you. Delegate Terrassa. That's great. Thank you, Delegate Casani. Delegate Terrassa.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And now I hesitate to ask my question because it's not a positive.
No, this was.
I'll find a way to make it optimistic.
Oh, I
Delegate.
don't know about this one, but and I apologize because I joined a couple minutes late. So if you already talked about this, but in terms of the Epstein files, I just want to go back to for a second.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that, and I know everybody's distressed about those. I just don't want us to be too distracted by all the other
Yeah.
Intentional or unintentional distractions that are happening. But what are the possibilities other people are going to be prosecuted? Is that happening? Because like, to me, it's so distressing, for my, young lady, my daughter, to see that all of this is happening. And, there's all this chat about whether the president was involved, which is already obvious, but like nobody else is getting, maybe I'm just missing it. Nobody else is getting arrested. Nobody else is getting prosecuted. And how can that possibly be?
So I spent an hour at DOJ the other day, looking at the classified version of the files, and I don't have words for how disgusting and disturbing they were, and how much I admire the courage of the survivors for continuing to like not let this go and not let this die in the darkness. And I'm just so grateful to them. I think your point is we're seeing people justice come for people in other countries.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing it here. I don't know why. Certainly this DOJ is not going to investigate certain people. Maybe unlike how other countries are investigating folks there. But again, I think it's when we get gavels in January and when we can subpoena further. And to be clear, I mean, I think the House Oversight Committee has done a phenomenal job. Jamie, we just subpoenaed Attorney General Pam Bondi over this. I mean, they got Republicans, Democrats led the effort to get Republicans to agree to subpoena the Attorney General. Like in a world, this is where we're going to be optimistic. In a world where there's so much bad,
Right.
when there are small glimmers of hope and optimism and progress, we have to celebrate those. The fact that we were able to get 4 or 5 Republicans to agree to that subpoena
Right.
is not big deal. It's
huge.
So, I think when that happens, I'm not sure when she's scheduled to testify in front of Oversight, but I think maybe that's going to help with the logjam. And Oversight is not giving up on this. I can promise you, not giving up while we're in the minority. And then I can only imagine how much further they can push this when they have gavels.
Thank you. And thank you for somehow turning that into.
It's my job these days
to
turn everything to something we can be hopeful about.
We're
Congresswoman,
glad you're there. Thank you.
I would note that the Republicans seem to have less of a problem pressuring Trump's female appointees than they do pressuring his male appointees.
Yeah. Yes.
I never thought about that. You're absolutely right.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'll end on another positive note. We cannot do our job without all of you. I've always looked at this work from my days working next to you at the State House to the days in Congress. This is a team effort. It's a team sport. I said this to some of you on Saturday. I saw on State of the Union Day, a young woman had a t-shirt that said "Democracy is a group project." And I love that because not only obviously we have significant roles to play, but our constituents do as well, and continuing to lean in and participate. And we just have to keep that drumbeat going. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I know I speak for everybody when I say how grateful we are for your work. Hang in there. I am sure you have some difficult days, But as I say, we are so happy you're there and you're doing a wonderful job. And thank you so much for spending part of your morning with us.
Thank you. All right, see you all soon.
Bye-bye. Okay, so now the next and last item on our agenda is HOCO 1026, the Board of Education budget reporting. So I was very disappointed to find out this morning that apparently the numerous iterations of amendments are somehow still not satisfactory to the county. So, Mr. Schefter, can you explain what the problem is?
Yeah, I appreciate
We're
that,
talking
Madam
about
Chair.
it this morning.
I would love to just show the group, if I could share my screen, what we think are clarifying and our final comments on this. The language that we got back came in at like 5 p.m. yesterday. We gave it one more look and noticed that there was some language that we originally requested that was not in there. So if I could share my screen, I'd love to, but
you should be able to now.
okay, great. Thank you. So the screen here. So just again, clarifying language here. The language that we originally requested said including but not limited to. So we're proposing to add but not limited to. This would cover things that are not in this list, such as the cost of pre-K that could be shifting back to the county, but that would not otherwise be represented in the general fund authorization for the Board of Education. The other request that we had was to just simply move the language that is here, which reads excluding one-time expenses, to clarify that it's excluding one-time expenses from the county's general fund revenue as it's introduced. So this is supposed to capture PAYGO expenses. That one is not as critical to us, but we think it clarifies the intent of this excluding one-time expenses language. Those are our final comments.
Anybody have thoughts about this? Delegate Wu?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Brian and Mr. Schefter from the county side. I really appreciate you put the language here. I think the intention is really try to say how much money the county has been spending on education. We try to create a baseline, and that way we're aware where we at. And I think there will be always something maybe missing. So I'm glad you put a not limit there. At the same time, I'm okay with the revision of the language if the committee, if the delegation agree with the language, and but I don't think that like block really something can kill the bill. I think the intention for this bill is really try to see how much money we're spending, put some transparency there. So I really appreciate it being working with the delegation. At the same time, I really hope this delegation can see the intention of the bill and can approve this. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Hill.
I'd like to move the 2 changes or 3 changes that Mr. Schefter offered onto previous amendments offered by Delegate Wu.
Thank you, Delegate Hill. Before I ask for a second, I'm going to check in with Dara Moriarty, who has his hand up.
Yes, just thank you, Madam Chair. Just on the including but not limited to language, that is not language we use in the code. We just say including is not a limiting term. So the intent of not limiting this list to the 5 things you see in 1A through E, but not limited to, is A, not necessary, and B, is just not something that's seen in the code anywhere. So
Thank you for that.
of course.
If that is general interpretation, then the county would be fine with leaving the language as proposed as it relates to, but not limited to. So we could take that out if that is the generally accepted interpretation.
Excellent. So the only change here then is the excluding one-time expenses.
So I would change my motion to accepting that changes if Delegate Wu accepts it as a friendly amendment.
Yes, thank you. Second,
Great. Musa, can you call the roll?
So this is the
Says
vote on
on
Ho
the-
Code 1025 as amended, 1026
No,
as
it's the
amended.
vote on
On the amendment.
on the
On the
friendly
amendment.
amendment to accept that change to the previous amendment, and then
Okay.
take the amendment, and then we'll take the.
This is a vote to accept the change to the amendment. Delegate Guzzoni,
Sure.
Delegate Hill,
Yes.
Delegate Moreno,
Aye.
Delegate Tarasa,
Yep.
Delegate Watson,
Here she's. No, this.
Delegate Wu,
yes,
Chair Ziegler.
Yes.
The changes to the amendment pass.
And now do I hear a motion on the bill as amended?
Madam Chair, if I
move-
may, I apologize. I just want to point out that this language is also duplicated later in the bill. And so we would need to make that same change
Oh,
here
thank you.
as
Okay.
well.
And we also take out the other but not limited to.
Correct. Correct.
All right, do I hear a motion on,
That's your motion on the amendment to the bill as modified this morning.
second,
Yeah.
So here's the vote on Ho Code 1026 on the amended amendment. Delegate Guzzoni,
actually, Musa, do we need to do a roll call on this? Can we?
You
Do
don't have to.
everybody in favor of the, everybody in favor of this modification to the amendment, say aye,
aye,
Aye.
or raise your
Aye.
hand. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, the modification to the amendment passes. Thank you. Now, do I hear a motion on the bill as amended?
I move as amended.
I'll second. And we should call the roll on this, Musa.
okay. So this is a vote on Ho Code 1026 as amended. Delegate Guzzoni,
I'm a no on this.
Delegate Hill,
I'd like to come back. I'm still thinking about it.
Delegate Moreno,
I'm gonna be a no on it.
Delegate Tarasa.
This is on the bill itself, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Amended.
Delegate Wu,
Yes,
Chair Ziegler, Delegate Hill.
Before I vote, I just want to get a clarification. The bill at this point would simply require that the website post what percent of the budget is going to the school system. Is that my understanding, Delegate Wu?
yes. So both, so there are two steps, right? So the county, when the county is actually submit the budget to the county council, they need to disclose what the percentage of the funding, right? When the county council approves the funding, they need to disclose what the percentage of the funding go to the school system. It's just a disclosure, right? Or code reporting.
All right, I'm gonna vote yes.
Delegate Tarasa.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I thought I was on mute. I think Delegate Watson's here, isn't she? Did you call?
Delegate Watson, are you here?
She did let me know that I think she might be in two meetings at the same time. And she did let me know that she might have a problem joining, but I do see her iPhone. Delegate Watson, can you hear us? Apparently not. Where are we, Musa? I wasn't counting.
We have 4 votes in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, so the bill would fail. without Doug Watson taking a vote.
So since she's
That's it then.
here, but not with us.
I think
Yeah.
operationally, you can hold the vote and give her a fixed amount of time to vote without a discussion.
Thank you. That's what I was wondering. Is that correct, Dara?
Yes, there is precedent for that occurring.
Okay. Well, shall we give it just a couple of minutes? And she does seem to be.
You can give her until floor. I mean, we've done it till you give until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We've done.
You have?
Yeah,
Okay.
but in those
Okay.
cases, it would not just be for Delegate Watson, it would be for any member of the delegation.
We
Would we
Doug
still
Watson,
stay
Doug Watson.
online or?
No. So we have held votes open
Okay.
to certain time periods. It's not a rule, so I think it would have to be a consensus, and Mr. Morita could correct me that I mean, I don't know if it's a ruling of the chair or it's a consensus of the members who are present to hold the vote open, in which case it would also be open for Delegate Feldmark.
Correct.
Yes, who I guess could.
Might choose, since she's absent, she might choose to be marked as absent,
Right.
actually excused. She
Mhm.
might choose to be marked as excused, or knowing that the vote was up, she might decide that she wants to weigh in. But since Delegate Watson has checked in and continues to be present, but unable to speak at this time or participate, those two situations are slightly different. So she could not vote, but she can't elect to be, by the House rules that if you're there, you have to vote,
And what about, would it be okay to just get her vote? Does she, because we have a rule that you have to be on camera to vote as well. So how does that work? I'm so glad you know this stuff, Delegate Hill.
I think when we hold it open, we hold it open.
Okay.
And then the vote list is sent around to everyone to confirm that the votes are as they're, is that we have to all confirm that we agree that those are the way the votes were cast. But Mr. Moriarty will know more about how we handle those precedents.
That's my understanding as well. I'm not, directly privy to later votes being cast, but that is my understanding as well, is that it can be communicated to her and she can communicate her intent to vote later. I believe we've done that in the not too distant past on other bills.
Okay, well, I do think the amount of time we've all spent on this bill, that we should at least be able to fully vote on it. So as long as it's legal, I would be in favor of holding it open until, shall we say, until floor? That's 10 o'clock.
Maybe after floor, like yearly. I remember in the past we do it after because you never know. So they will tell you whether to vote yes or no.
Delegate Terrassa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we've done it all different.
Oh, you just put yourself on mute.
I did, sorry.
Yeah.
I think we've done it all different ways in the past. I definitely remember holding the vote open till like 3 or so. I'm surprised there's no legal answer to this question, and I guess I won't be here, but my suggestion would be we get those rules down at some point so we don't have these kind of conversations. But I definitely think we've done a variety of ways. I've also heard you can't change the vote, the pass or fail by doing that.
Correct.
Later. So I mean, I don't know, Mr. Moriarty, if there's some legal answer to the question that needs to be researched. If not, I'm fine keeping the vote open.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
can
fine all
also,
different ways.
I can double check that and confirm with the delegation.
Yeah, because if we can't change the vote, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I think the, I think what Delegate Tarasa is referencing is that the House rules are that you can change your vote as long as it doesn't change the outcome of the vote. That's
Oh,
different from
okay.
what we're saying, which is that we're leaving the vote open so that a member who was present can put their vote in. And generally, we've done it until 3, but again, it's arbitrary. So you could say to the end of floor, you could say into the beginning of floor. I think that's at your discretion, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'm going to say until the beginning of floor because I think Delegate Watson will be back at that point.
Okay.
Great. Delegate Tarasa, you still have your hand up?
Oh, sorry. No, I'm good. I'm
You'll
gonna
have it up?
hop
Okay.
off though, because I have something I need to do.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Words of wisdom for the good of the order? Okay. With that, we are